understand that about you. People come and gather for a while. And people often do that with a spiritual context anyway. From what I can see, even if there's an ashram set up and there's a group of dedicated disciples, they're really, from what I can see, more serving a space that other people visit for a while, and then, like in a retreat. I was just in Virginia. Most of the people that came to the 7-day retreat, they came for the 7 days, and they're back into their life.
Yeah, I mean it in that way, but I also mean it in a slightly different way. People should dip into special places, retreats, or time with someone like me, and then return to their life. They should. But it's also how they return to their life, what the emphasis is, that's important. For example, if you meet the people that have spent time with me over the years, you'll discover that they're free to be Buddhists, or they're free to continue to follow Gnostic Christianity, or be Orthodox Jews, or they're free to be non-religious but deeply spiritual in their own ways. They tend not to be elitist. They tend not to be exclusive. They tend not to create communities of identity. What they tend to do is go out and create meaningful relationships in their communities. And that can, and a community is as soon as there's 2 people, 2 or more. That's a community. And so I think that that's a very important thing that people have observed about my work over the years, or what has magnetized around me, is that it's not exclusive, it's not elite, there's no identification. And so in a certain sense I become not irrelevant, but I'm not at the center of it. I am at the center of it only in brief periods when I'm focusing on a particular piece of work, but I'm only at the center of it as an instrument for something else, which is much larger than me, much larger than my ideas about consciousness, or much more important than this brief life of mine. And I have to re-energize myself regularly. I have to re-motivate myself regularly. I have to find the love for the people I'm going to spend time with, people I may not even know. Usually I don't. Over and over again, in service to that larger vision. And if the vision is just about me and how I want to spread a particular teaching in the world, then that's not a pleasant state for me. It's only when I can get out of my way and become a servant once again. And then being a servant, and at the same time wanting to pay my bills by charging people money to receive whatever you want to call this. I would call it vision, inspiration, expansion. I would say yes, it is spiritual, but it's not spiritual insofar as where you take esoteric teachings or esoteric understandings and you insert them into a life, and you practice these things to try to change a life. I think that's a very old idea, that it doesn't work. I think you have to actually create the relationship that is the teaching right there in the moment, and not bring something in. And so the person doesn't leave with a practice. They leave with a taste of a possibility that then they have to discover. And if they're intrigued enough, they'll come back and taste it often enough that they can more and more carry it into the world and live it as their own life and give birth to it in their own way. But I don't have a way of giving people a practice that they insert into their life. And that too is different, because so much of what we have seen in spirituality has been special practices that are somehow supposed to be inserted into ordinary life, when it's actually the way you live ordinary life that is the spiritual practice. And how to get someone to understand that the way they live ordinary life is the spiritual practice has to do with teaching people how to learn. Okay, so that's what I do. I try to teach people how to learn. And how to learn to see themselves as an object, how to stand outside of their patterns, how to, in the very present moment, act in a way that changes the pattern, without any assurance that it's going to lead to a desired outcome, but in fact, therefore, really a movement in faith, an activity that is in itself faith. And it's just, if you don't know what the outcome is going to be, whereas when you go to most spiritual teachings, do this, and the outcome is enlightenment. And I kind of laugh, what happened to me I had nothing to do with. I haven't met anybody that had anything to do with what happened to them. Did you have anything to do with what happened to you? Not really, so you can't claim it as, you can say, this, I can report this happened, and I'm probably not reporting it properly or accurately, but you can't say it's mine, I'm enlightened, because I didn't do it. Okay, so enlightenment is the one thing we can be absolutely sure none of us can claim. And therefore it becomes meaningless to do a practice in order to lead to enlightenment. Meaningless to me. It's asked backwards. It's the wrong way around. It's do a practice so that you can learn to have a new relationship to yourself in the moment. Then set aside the practice, because all it was like trainer wheels, so you'd learn to ride a bicycle.